My name is Sherry Lee, Director of Partnerships and Public Affairs with the Economic Innovation Institute for Africa. The timing for crucial conversations on advancing Canada-Africa commercial relations, particularly in the agriculture sector, has never been more important. To make major advances, key players across the entire value chain must be at the table. To that end, the Sprott Centre for African Research and Business at Carleton University, the Norman Paterson School of International Affairs at Carleton University, the Economic Innovation Institute for Africa, the Institute for Canada-Africa Business and Policy Research, and our numerous partners are very excited to host a number of engaging international speakers and thought leaders during this unique virtual summit. These are leaders with impressive accomplishments across government, business, academia, and civil society. We are thankful for their availability and willingness to share insights on contemporary issues in the agriculture space. This event is made possible through the generous support of several organizations, and we'd like to thank the following sponsors, starting with Tourism Saskatchewan, a one-stop resource for experiencing Saskatchewan's vibrant cities and great outdoors. Tourism Saskatchewan's business support content, advice, training, and resources are all designed to make Saskatchewan's businesses more competitive, sustainable, and profitable. We also thank the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, which promotes and supports research and training in the humanities and social sciences. We acknowledge their support through the Connection Program, which aims to realize the potential of social sciences and humanities research for intellectual, cultural, social, and economic influence by supporting specific activities and tools that facilitate the flow and exchange of research knowledge. On behalf of the organizers and partners, we thank our sponsors. I would like to now introduce the moderator for this interview, Mr. Fergus McLaren, Director of International Relations and Knowledge Management for the Economic Innovation Institute for Africa. Fergus McLaren is a sustainable tourism and cultural heritage management professional with 25 years of experience in Canada, Asia, and Africa. Much of his current professional focus involves tourism to World Heritage Sites and the implementation of the 2030 UN Sustainable Development Goals. Fergus, I will now hand the interview over to you, and I look forward to a very interesting session.
Thank you very much, Sherry. And it's an honor and a pleasure to have His Excellency here, the new High Commissioner of Ghana to Canada, His Excellency, Mr. Sowah. Welcome. Very nice to have you here, and thank you for coming to join us today. Just to start off, there's a number of questions that we have with regard to the agricultural space. But our first question is, how is Ghana currently doing in the agricultural sector, and what are its principal products? Obviously, cocoa is very important, but there are many other aspects that Ghana is involved with.
Yeah, Ghana is currently performing well in the agricultural sector in the following ways. As you know, the country is the world's second largest exporter of cocoa. And agricultural GDP grew from 4.7 in 2019 to 7.4 in 2020. In 2020, the share of agriculture in GDP was 19.1%, and it contributed 36.3% to industry. The sector engages 38.3% of the country's labor force, mainly in the production of crops and livestock, fisheries, processing, and marketing of agricultural produce. This performance is attributed to crops and fisheries subsectors. For example, yields of crops such as maize, rice, and cassava increased by 51, 17.4, and 22% respectively over the 4-year period. The yield increases resulted from enhanced agricultural extension service delivery and use of improved seeds and fertilizers, all made possible by the massive support from the Government of Canada through the Modernizing Agriculture in Ghana program. The subsector performances. The crop subsector grew from 5.3% in 2019 to 8.7% in 2020. The livestock subsector maintained a growth of 5.4 in 2019 and 2020. The forestry subsector declined by 1.7% and 9.2% in 2019 and 2020, respectively, due to the illegal felling of trees. The fisheries subsector recorded an increase in growth from 1.7% in 2019 to 14.2% in 2020 due to increased investment in aquaculture and new closed season policy. The cocoa subsector declined from 5.4% in 2019 to 1.9% in 2020. But Ghana achieved its highest production levels of cocoa in the 2020-2021 season. The production exceeded 1 million metric tons. Our principal agricultural produce and products are tree crops, cocoa, cashew, cocoa products, shea, and coconut, cereal, maize, rice, millet, and sorghum. Fruits, we have concentrates, and also pineapple, mango, and citrus. Dried vegetable, dried chili pepper. Other perishable vegetables. We have Asian vegetables such as turia, tinder, marrow, okra, ravaya, guar, and spinach. Dried fruits, mango, pineapple, coconut, banana. We have spices such as ginger. Edible oils, we have palm oil, soybean oil, coconut oil, groundnut oil. We also have avocado. We have byproducts, oil palm kernels, cashew, and shell. Processed cocoa products, cocoa liquor, cocoa butter, chocolate. National rubber sheets is also one of our products. We have cassava, we have chips, we have flour, we have ethanol, we have starch. Yam, we have fresh tubers, and we have chips. Soybean, we have soy meal and soy oil. And we have brown rice as well.
It's very much, Ghana is a very fertile country. Certainly, in terms of its agricultural base, but certainly in terms of the range and the value that those products bring is certainly very important to the economy, particularly local farmers. And it's great to see that there is that encouragement of broad-based agricultural activity. To build on that point, you had mentioned the second question deals with, what are the current agricultural trading relations like with Canada? You had mentioned that there already was a program underway that the Canadian government was supporting, and certainly if you wanted to elaborate a bit more upon that, it'd be interesting to hear for our audience in terms of how this relationship is working and benefiting both countries.
Well, unfortunately, that the period of time for the modernizing agriculture in Ghana is coming to an end. And we would want it to continue because it has been such a massive support in terms of all that has been provided to support the modernization of agriculture in Ghana. Such as products, seeds, fertilizers, and the extension delivery programs that we have, in terms of building capacity within the various areas of agriculture. Canada has been very, very supportive of that. And we would like for this program to continue.
I think that's it's certainly a worthy initiative, and to see the success of the Ghanaian agricultural sector, I think it's important to keep building upon that and to continue that strong relationship between our two countries. And I think, especially given that there are a number of, current issues that are affecting the sector. I know that there are some, certainly particularly in West Africa, but in Ghana, like climate change, the SDG, trade regulations, the pandemic. Did you want to discuss some of those issues in terms of how you see that affecting the sector? And this is maybe something that Canada can support in future in some of the initiatives in those areas.
Well, yes. For example, we have many policy opportunities. We have policy positions that we have taken, and we want to focus on efficiency in the agricultural system, increase productivity and production, improve standards, quality control, certification, value addition, packaging and branding, and we have specific programs such as planting for food and jobs, rearing for food and jobs, the creation of greenhouse villages, the mechanization, all meant to increase productivity and production for food security and export. We have also established a crops development authority to oversee the development of the tree crops industry. And the One District, One Factory initiative also provides incentives for value addition processing. All of these are meant to intercede, to support the agricultural sector. We would want to say that we have had a problem with the COVID-19 situation. Supply chains were affected. Just movement around, getting food to ports was a problem. Lots of goods got spoiled in the program. And, it's created an altogether difficult environment. But we are still making efforts through various interventions in the agricultural sector, supported by sectors such as trade and industry, to improve our food security, create jobs, and increase income. And no doubt, the implementation of programs and projects, such as modernizing agriculture in Ghana, has a positive impact on Ghana's agricultural sector, and we would wish it to be continued.
I think, Bashir, I think you raised an important point, and that's the issue of supply chains, but also the fact that many agricultural products, of course, are perishable.
Yeah.
And the ability to get to market or to get to distribution or warehouses, certainly, that has been hampered. And here in Canada, as it has been in Ghana and other countries in West Africa. And I think that's an important issue to note. And, the perishability and the ability to make sure that there's a good, solid, consistent flow of traffic through that supply chain. So thank you for raising that important point. The next question is that one of the big initiatives that, of course, has happened in Ghana has been the advent of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And certainly with now Accra being the seat of the AfCFTA, it's a huge initiative, not just for the country, but for the continent as a whole. And I'm wondering, your perspectives in terms of how you see Ghana's agricultural sector participating in the FCTA.
Well, the AfCFTA presents many opportunities for Ghana's agriculture and is an avenue for marketing of our agricultural surpluses and value addition. We do have surpluses of some agricultural commodities and also the potential to increase the produce of other commodities. Food trade remains one of the most important areas Ghana is focusing on to harness the benefits of the AfCFTA. Additionally, we are focusing on developing commodities, tree crops, for example, which have the potential for export. Like I have said already, we do recognize the need to position ourselves to be competitive in the market and to take advantage of these opportunities. Some of the specific interventions I've spoken about already, but for example, improving access to agricultural finance. Definitely, this is being pursued to promote innovative agricultural financing models to ensure access to affordable financing for the private sector. Agricultural finance is less than 5% of total national credit. We have a company called Gersel, which is meant to de-risk agricultural financing by the financial institutions through the issuance of agricultural credit guarantee instruments. We hope that that will take off. We also try to subsidize interest rates, and by providing various kinds of subsidies. We're also trying to promote agricultural insurance. We are promoting the warehouse receipt system and commodity exchange. The establishment of the Development Bank of Ghana will provide financing to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, as well as small corporates in agribusiness, manufacturing, and information and communication technology. And we also need to strengthen the capacity building of all producers, regulators, service providers to be able to participate in the AFCFTA. We do this by improving the skills of entrepreneurs, revising the educational curricula to focus on agribusiness and entrepreneurship, promoting the capacity building and competency-based and vocational skills, support to women's organizations through, for example, the Modernizing Agricultural Program, to be able to access inputs and equipment and to be more competitive. Furthermore, the Ministry of Agriculture developed and submitted a position paper to the Ministry of Trade, outlining the produce and products that the country can trade in on the AFCFTA platform. We have a comparative advantage in the production of cocoa, rubber, and some major cash crops. However, we mostly export plantain, yam, fruits, maize, banana, and legumes to African countries, especially South Africa. Our other exports include cassava, ginger, sorghum, pawpaw, and vegetables. In 2018, the volume of plantain exported from Ghana to neighboring countries, namely Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Togo, Niger, Benin, and Nigeria, amounted to about 44,000 metric tons. This was the highest exported capacity compared to the other crops, which registered an export volume ranging from 872 metric tons, that's vegetables, to 36,900 metric tons of fruit. Overall, in the same year, crop exports to the mentioned countries exceeded 150,000 metric tons. Most of the exports, about 74%, had Burkina Faso as their destination. So we are clear that we have to improve quality standards and build the capacity of all relevant actors to be able to participate effectively in the African Free Trade Area. The capacity of public officials in particular needs to be built in areas of negotiation and trade information analysis to support our country's participation in the African Free Trade Area.
I think that those are really important points to reinforce not only the strengths of the current trading capacity within the agricultural sector of Ghana between other neighboring and further African nations such as South Africa, but also the fact that there are some other elements that are there. Being here in Canada, you of course have the North American Free Trade Agreement. And a lot of it is, the exchange of goods and services across borders. But we're finding increasingly the bigger issues are, as you've clearly stated, negotiation, because in many ways this is a legal process. And to that end, there's a real need to understand in terms of how goods shift back and forth, the relationship between the different countries involved, and what constitutes fair trading and fair dealing, because certainly this is the intent is to make it a mutually beneficial mechanism, if you will, in terms of the way that things are set up. And the fact that there's a strong emphasis on providing supports, financial mechanisms, particularly for majority small-holding farming sector, as in Ghana. I think it's really important because there are different issues, of course, that can offset the ability to operate in a fair and profitable manner. So kudos to the government for initiating those mechanisms. So just one last question for you. Do you have any final comments that you'd like to make about Ghana's agricultural sector?
Well, I mean, in line with the agricultural sector's vision to have a modernized agriculture culminating in a structurally transformed economy and evident in food security, employment opportunities, and reduced poverty, the government has, over the last 5 years, prioritized agricultural modernization and transformation. It has invested significantly in a major flagship program, the Planting for Food and Jobs, with a focus on 5 modules: food crops, tree crops, horticulture, livestock, and mechanization module. These programs, together with other development partners who fund these programs, are implemented under the National Medium-Term Agricultural Investment Framework, titled Investing for Food and Jobs. The agricultural sector policies and plans are designed, taking into consideration the National Economic Policy Framework, the Coordinated Program of Economic and Social Development Policies, regional policies, continental policies, such as the AU Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals. At least 9 of these goals are either directly or indirectly related to agriculture. The National Voluntary Review Report of 2017 indicated Ghana was to make great strides on goals 1 and 2. For example, for goal 1, the proportion of population below the international poverty line declined from 13.6% to 11.9% in 2017. In the case of goal 2, the nutritional status of children, particularly under 5 years of age, was reported to have improved significantly between 2013 and 2017. I want to say that in spite of the devastating effects of COVID-19 globally, we are still making efforts through various interventions in the agricultural sector and allied sectors, such as trade and industry, to improve food security, to create jobs, and to increase incomes. The implementation of programs and projects, such as modernizing agriculture in Ghana, continues to have a positive impact on our agricultural sector and should be continued.
Hi, Commissioner. It's been an honor and a pleasure. You've been very informative and very insightful in terms of all the key issues that are occurring in the agricultural sector, not only in Ghana, but certainly in the relations with other African nations. And I think that it's been a really, really good, thoughtful, thorough sort of approach that you've presented. And I'm pleased to see that Ghana is really taking this very comprehensive application to the sector. So many thanks for your time and your input and your insights today. It was a very enjoyable conversation.